He's a little.
Anyone else want a paper budget? Anyone in the audience? No. Okay. Yeah.
What's that something around?
Are we zooming, Jen? Okay, so. We're ready whenever you're ready.
Okay. In that case, we'll call the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee meeting to order. Reminder to silence your cell phones from all your noise making devices. First up is to elect a committee chairperson. Not it. So if there's anyone who would like to volunteer to be chairperson, please raise your hand.
You do? I'll volunteer.
I nominate.
Yes, and we need, yeah, we need a motion to nominate Mark if there is one.
I believe Councilor Stupina just made a motion.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to nominate Mark to be chairperson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This is just a resume builder for sure.
There you go.
Okay, first thing is approval of the minutes from May 15th to 24, and it was very short, about a page and a half. It's in the packet. Looking for a motion for that, or any comments on it?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. We have a motion from Ben and a second from Doug. All in favor of approving the minutes from a year ago?
Aye.
Passed, awesome. Budget presentation.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Will Norris, Urban Renewal Administrator, and I'm going to share my screen. And so the agenda for today, first we have some new members of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee who have not served on the budget committee before, so I thought I'd do a quick overview of the budget process and just what we're doing here. Then I'll give my budget message. As in previous years, it'll be organized by district, and we'll stop at every district for any questions. And then I do have a cleanup motion, a recommended motion at the end to fix, make a correction in voted budget surrounding some overhead charges. That's that. So what you have in front of you is the proposed budget. So that is my recommendation for spending activity in next fiscal year, starting July 1st, 2025. So includes budget message, providing an overview of the activities that were planned, estimated revenues, and then the appropriations to carry out those activities. Resources and requirements are balanced, so it's a balanced budget. And then when you get into the detail sheets, you see that there's 2 years of actual numbers for prior fiscal years as the current year budget, and then next year's proposed budget for each one of the districts. So what we're doing tonight is the budget committee is taking ownership and making my proposed budget your approved budget. So the budget committee considers the budget message, any questions of staff. We'll have a public hearing and also consider input from the public, and then as well as the deliberation amongst you. And then any changes to the budget are made by a majority of the budget committee, not just a majority of those present. So it's in other words, it's 7 votes, 7 affirmative votes to make a change tonight or to approve the budget. And all members present, including the elected board and the citizen members of the advisory committee, all have equal authority, equal vote today. So after the budget is passed and approved, it'll then be considered by the Urban Renewal Agency Board at one of their regular meetings, and the board can only change when you decide on today by 10%, or else they have to republish and hold another public hearing. So any questions about the process of what we're doing tonight? Well, I always like to center and start with just how the engine of urban renewal works. So I think that's always a good background into recenter on that, so. As we all have talked, as I'm sure the agency or the board members have talked about previously in other committee meeting, in the city's budget meeting. Property taxes only grow at 3% per year, absent any development and work. So what urban renewal does is it targets geographic areas for investment and it caps that growth. And creates what's called frozen base. So all existing taxes at a point in time continue to go to all other taxing districts at the amount that they were previously. But the growth is reinvested into the urban renewal district. And so we borrow against that 3% growth to make targeted smart investments that should, if we do our jobs well, spark development and tax-based growth that otherwise would not have occurred. And pay back, hopefully the borrowing that we did to do investments. We pay back the borrowing for investments, hopefully primarily with new tax-based money and not the money that was just incrementally diverted away from overlapping taxing districts. And if all goes well, we leave areas of the city revitalized and we leave the tax base larger than it would have been otherwise, creating more money for everyone in all services, all public services. So that's it in concept, and it truly has been. You'll see how it has worked in our downtown and our waterfront. And it's up to us to continue to make it work like this going forward with the decisions that we make. So the 4 districts underneath the Urban Renewal Agency are the oldest is the Columbia Cascade. That no longer collects property tax. The second oldest is the Waterfront District. And that one increased its maximum indebtedness to $7.9 million last year, reduced its size. And that one is likely to continue operating for about 1 more year. And then in 2012, there's the Heights District, and that has a borrowing capacity of 8.5 million. And then the brand newest district, just in its infancy, is the West Side District that has more spending authority than all the other urban renewal districts combined at 146 million. And this is the historical revenue, tax increment revenue by district, and then what is expected in this year's proposed budget, and then a forecast for the next 3 years thereafter. So we, like I said, noted that the Columbia Cascade District downtown that no longer collects any tax increment, stopped collecting tax increment in fiscal year 2022. And this is the current year, fiscal year that we're planning for will probably be the last year that the Waterfront District collects any money itself. And so it's about to retire all of its assessed value to the general rules. So leaving us with just the West Side District and the Heights going forward. And while the West Side District is very large in its borrowing authority, still it's just fairly minor in the amount of tax revenue it is generating today. So with that, I'm going to get into the districts, but any questions just the agency as a whole or the revenue forecast? So next, we have the Urban Renewal General Fund that operates well, like I said, operates mostly like Fund 811 in the city's budget, covers the overhead and charges assignable to urban renewal, but not directly attributable to any specific district. So, for instance, that's the agency administrator who oversees all districts, and then other things like the financial audit that covers the whole agency. So the agency general fund budget starts on page 6. And it's funded by an equal charge to all 4 districts, paying equally to cover the expenses of the URA general fund. And kind of the update or activity in the general fund, we recently updated the agency's bylaws last fiscal year. And then updated the governing board membership so that now it's just the city council, where it used to be city council and 2 port commissioners. Any questions on the URA general fund? Okay. So the Columbia Cascade District, our oldest district, was created to upgrade infrastructure, as well as roadways, and then also create amenities, in downtown. Before the district, we had really antiquated, infrastructure, leaky, sewer lines getting infiltrated with water. Some storm water was still up in ditches. And some roads were even, gravel and dirt roads in downtown. So the Columbia Cascade District worked, from the north to the south, systematically improving each roadway. Changed paved streets that were still gravel, undergrounded utilities, planted trees, put in sidewalk, chairs, trash cans. Basically, the Hood River downtown that we know today is very much a product of urban renewal investment over the last 30 years. And then also created several public amenities like the Overlook Park, and also the underpass underneath the interstate connecting the waterfront and downtown. So the district is now closed, but it was highly successful, grew taxable value. Taxable value in downtown grew from 33.7 million. And that's in 2022 dollars, so that's adjusted for inflation. Grew taxable value to 136 million in 2022 when the district closed. And so all that funds went and are now, that assessed value is paying for county services, parks, library, contributing to the common school fund. All good things. So accomplishments for the current year in downtown is paying for signalization of Second and Oak. But generally, the district is somewhat sitting idle, waiting to pay for stormwater improvements as the final project of the downtown area. The budget only funds the downtown stormwater project. If that comes in under budget, then we could consider other projects, and we would start a public process to prioritize. Some ideas that are already been floating out there are projects like doing a parking garage feasibility study, sidewalk repair, additional parking signage improvements, maybe making the big art installations permanent, and doing tree replacements of dead trees. So all that could be that plus more. We would engage the downtown business association for additional ideas and then do a process. But I think it's becoming increasingly likely that the downtown stormwater project is probably going to take all the remaining funds of the downtown. So any questions on the downtown budget?
Do we know when are we gonna clear the stormwater thing from the urban renewal from the district?
We'll do phase 4 and 5 this summer. Complete those.
So this time next year, we'll know if there's any change in the bucket.
With, I think, the exception of the enhanced wetland might stretch into the next fiscal year. Yeah, possibly. So, yeah. Any other questions on the next year's budget for Columbia Cascade District? Okay, getting into the waterfront district. That one is also near enclosure. When it was created, the assessed value in the district was 11.8 million in 2008, and then it grew to 92 or about $93 million in assessed value in FY 2023. And so where development had primarily been stagnant until some waterfront investments addressed odor control issues at the wastewater treatment plant and primarily added some roads. There was not much development occurring at all, and then since urban renewal investments, it's grown at a roughly 15% annual growth rate over that period. And I chose 2023 as the ending date because after that, we resized the district smaller, and so it creates kind of an apples and oranges comparison of what the assessed value of the district is. So 24-25 accomplishments. We increased the maximum indebtedness of the district by 20% to 7.9 million. And that's to ensure that the waterfront stormline project can be completed. And as of just last week, I think, the last project strictly within the boundaries of the district was completed. That was putting the stormline underneath Riverside Drive, which was the last kind of phase in the district proper. Previous phases was moving the stormwater line underneath 8th Street, the new outfall. So essentially now we're just waiting, and what's in the next year's budget is contributing its proportionate share towards the shared resource, stormwater resource between the waterfront stormwater and the downtown stormwater, which will be an enhanced wetland between the two districts. So that's going to receive and redirect stormwater that's currently flowing into the waterfront district, do passive treatment, and then release the water out by the hook. So that's what's budgeted is simply contributing towards the stormwater line, retirement of stormwater loan funds that have been incurred for the project. And then I also have a small amount for help with closeout of the district and writing a final closeout report. So any questions on the waterfront district? Okay, those ones are a little bit kind of idle, just waiting for this stormwater line project to finish out, but we're getting into the more active districts now. So the Heights District on page
16.
Thank you. Recently completed and then adopted the Heights Streetscape Plan into the Heights Urban Renewal Plan. Some of the accomplishments from the current fiscal year is applying for and getting applying for consideration by the Oregon Legislature's Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee and getting their endorsement of our request for $30.6 million as part of a payment to receive jurisdictional authority over 12th and 13th Street, which is necessary for implementation of the Heights Streetscape Plan. We added a lobbyist to help advocate for that recommendation in this current year's session. We got approved the contract for 30% engineering designs for first two projects in the Heights Streetscape Plan, which are enhanced crosswalks at Taylor and P Streets across 12th, as well as a bike ped connection along Taylor between 12th and 13th. The agency also acquired the home at 1217 May Street, which had a short-term rental that was acquired so that it can eventually accommodate the widening of May Street to, as part of the Heights Streetscape Plan's plan for a roundabout at 13th and May Street. And we did a competitive solicitation for a nonprofit to operate and use that house until it's needed for roadway improvements. And it had a grand opening just a couple months ago for a sober house operated by Hood River Alliance Church. And so they'll operate that indefinitely until we need it. And then we'll, with 6 months notice, provide the property back to us when it's needed for roadway improvements. And then just as a couple weeks ago, this is new information, we're awarded $35,000 for a state grant to do a portion share district for the Heights. And so that will help us create a funding formula that developers can pay into to pay towards their proportional share of capacity of Heights improvement projects that they'll need to develop. And so that creates a more streamlined approach for development, helps unlock development by making it simpler to know what your costs are rather than needing to do improvements yourself. And it creates a funding stream for the heights. So next year's proposed budget includes owner's representative contracts. That's essentially like a construction management firm to assist me in bidding projects and overseeing construction projects. It also includes borrowing and funding for the engineering, design, and construction of the first 3 projects in the Heights Streetscape Plan, which were the first 2 that I already talked about, but then also sidewalk improvements along 13th. So we'll be ready, and the goal is to get these shovel ready, so that once we do get jurisdictional authority over the roadway, we're ready to move.
I don't think it's supposed to say planning strip. Or is it a planning strip on 13th?
Oh, sorry,
It must be plantings.
planting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it says it right there.
Oh, I see, it does on the left. Okay, got it, yeah, thanks.
Yep, sorry about that. Any question about the heights?
So with the enhancements that you're doing, those are like gonna be the permanent, like that was part of the whole plan and we're just doing that as like we won't have to redo that when we do the bigger picture stuff, is that right?
Correct, yeah, there's a 11-step implementation plan in the High Streetscape plan, and these are the first 3 steps.
Okay.
And they are made to be done in sequence. And so that allows traffic to continue to operate normally as we make these in stages improvements to the heights.
Cool. Yeah.
The 4 million and change is borrowing against future tax revenue, is that right? So that's us being the borrower. On that, if jurisdiction transfer happens this next year and funding is part of it, should the budget not show a potential inflow that can or can't be spent depending on whether it exists or not? So if we get $1 million from the state, that doesn't exist in this budget.
Mm-hmm.
Should it? That's my question.
I think, you know, the budget is your best estimate given the information you have when you adopt. And right now, we have within our control to borrow and to fund these projects. Whereas the legislature is really more hypothetical, what they're gonna do.
Sure.
So I would say, you know, it's like 60-40 decision about which one you think is more likely. So if we wanted to instead budget for a large appropriation from the state, we could do that. I sort of erred towards what we had sort of within our sphere of our own control.
So if we get the appropriation and that changes, I think this set of projects is probably aggressive as it is, so it changes how we fund that 4.4. What budget process is required to make that change?
Yeah, it's be a supplemental budget after adoption, which is anytime there's a change in conditions or understanding, you know, that allows for a supplemental budget. So, you know, if we have cash, I certainly will use that first instead of borrowing.
Do we have to reconvene?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, no, no.
Is it if it's 4 million, if it pays for all 4 million, then you would just do it at the agency level, you wouldn't have to.
Correct, yeah, I may have to notice it and have a public hearing. But no, there's no instance where I would need to reconvene the budget.
Just snatch planning. That's
Just procedurally, is the applicant on the jurisdictional transfer of the URA? Or is it the city?
It's the city.
Okay, so theoretically, that probably goes to someone was it, but this city.
Yeah, good point, but. Yeah,
Yeah,
decision to be made. It gets somewhat fuzzy since the agency is an entity of the city.
yeah.
So we'd have to decide. Good point, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my question, like, if, when we get the jurisdictional.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, does that go to the urban renewal agency and then we have that money to use on the heights, or is that more of like a city? It goes to the city because the city's taking over the thing, but. that's
Yeah.
kind of the same question as Chris.
Yeah, exact same question. I'd say it's a difference without it, or a distinction without a difference.
Because we would use that money on
The heights,
the 12th and 13th.
yeah,
And so that would be in addition to our tax increment of the 8 million. So really, if we get when we get 30 million, then we have $38 million. Way better.
yeah, in fact, we're required to do a 20% match, and so that 30.6 million, that was calculated based on what was left in our renewal in order to provide a 20% match.
We estimate the Heights project to be 70 million total.
Yeah, well, I knew the 8 was not enough.
Nor is the 30.
Right. But it gets us closer, for sure.
Yeah, but something to queue up, and I think thinking about this during budget time is good to queue up is what do we want to do if we're unsuccessful in the legislature? Because the May revenue forecast came in very poor. It's not taking a lot of spending off the table, and so we don't know what we're gonna get. And I don't need to make any decisions here tonight. I just want to plant the seed that there may be a fork in the road where we decide we want to go sooner and go alone, or we want to go slower and keep trying for that pot of gold from the state. Any other questions on the heights? Okay, now the West Side District, principally created to be a funding for the three three adopted plans on the screen, the transportation system plan, the affordable housing strategy, and the multi-jurisdictional park master plan that the city signed on to. So all of those were adopted, went through significant public process, didn't have all the funding in place to realize them. And specifically the affordable housing strategy, a recommendation was to create an urban renewal district. So funding those. The West Side District, its accomplishments in its first year was negotiating the Mariposa Village Development and Disposition Agreement. And so adding in an enhanced crosswalk across Rand, and also requiring no additional agency or financial support if we're fully successful in drawing down our SB 1530 allocation of $2.5 million that we secured from the state, but are waiting to make sure that it carries forward in the next fiscal year. Also, we completed the West Side constructability analysis, which analyzed the cost to develop and basically how quantified why development is not occurring on the west side, showing market value versus the price to construct and what the delta is. And that led into sizing and constructing a middle housing construction incentive, which is now adopted and ready for anyone to take advantage of it. And that equalizes the development fee burden between large single family homes and smaller, what are called missing middle housing. And that is financed with $1 million secured equally, half and half, between the city and the Oregon Investment Board. So looking forward into the next fiscal year, we budget for a marketing campaign for that middle housing construction incentive, finalizing performance and equity metrics, and then the biggest project is doing a design refinement and proportionate share district for the Mount Adams roundabout. And that graphic there is a non-scientific estimate of all the area that's served by the Mount Adams intersection. That current northbound lane that all that area would drive onto if they're going to Cascade Avenue is just a stop sign, and it's already at a failed level of service. And so that has already killed a multifamily project in its pre-development stages. So that really creates, really identifies this intersection as that kind of up where the water flows. Upstream, most upstream. The most upstream piece of infrastructure that we need to improve to increase the development potential of the west side. So it's estimated that if we did a roundabout at that location, it would add the equivalent capacity of 1,500 PM peak trip hours, and that is enough to facilitate the full development of the west side at current zoning. So the project will do enough engineering to create a good cost estimate. And to understand what the right of way acquisition needs to be. And then we'll need to go to city council to decide whether or not to adopt a proportionate share district. And that again creates a funding methodology that developers can pay in towards the future roundabout. And that allows them to get land use approval to develop. And so if we had had a proportionate share district when that prior multifamily development was being considered, we would have been able to give them instead of saying, you need to do whatever you need to do to this intersection in order to facilitate your new trips, we could say, here's a bill, pay this, and you're considered covered. So that creates a real streamlined way to help development move forward. And it's also the method that we pay for realignment of Cascade and Rand, and also the signalization of Second and Oak proportionate share districts help fund both of those projects. So it's a real well-worn path here in the city. And then we'll also be working on just the shorthand name of Mariposa 2.0, which may be nothing like Mariposa. Some of the initial steps are to research on alternative publicly supported housing types. So not other than just low-income housing tax credits or kind of classic regulated capital A affordable housing. What are other cities, counties doing to support public housing? So that will be coming as a research project and the findings to the agency to consider and just have a better kind of contextual understanding of what our options are. And then also an evaluation of all the publicly owned property within the city to see how it could and to think about how it could potentially be leveraged either to house affordable housing itself or be surplus or however else it could be used to further affordable housing in the city. Any questions on West Side District?
My one question is the 1.25 million in the current year budget, was that borrowed and spent? And maybe you hit on that in your description.
No, that was borrowing to support if anyone took advantage of the housing incentive and supply for it. Yeah. So that borrowing went unused.
So it just goes away, and then this year you're saying $1 million to pay for those other projects. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Money.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, so that's all the districts. I did note one proposed motion that's a correction to request of the budget committee in your deliberations. We, in the update of our bylaws, we updated how the agency pays for its proportionate share of overhead charges for city services. So we operate out of the city hall. City hall accounts payable pays our bills. We use the city's auditing firm. We use the city's financial system. Kind of all of those overhead charges. Because it was changed in methodology, just lines got crossed, and those numbers did not get pulled into the budget accurately. And so this is a proposed change for your consideration. And I have the adjustment that's needed to each district's overhead charge, what the change will be. So it's a reduction to Columbia Cascade, increases to the other three districts. And essentially for Waterfront and Columbia Cascade, it's just an adjustment in how much you pay for the stormwater project. And then the Heights and West Side can each cover this change within budgeted contingency. In the West Side, it will take about 20,000 of its 25,000 budgeted contingency. And so what that means is that we'll just need to be really monitor expenses and know that we really don't have any room to play, and we can't go over I believe we have 90K budget for the Mount Adams proportionate share study. And the current estimate or the current work on that is signed for 50,000, so I think we have room. So any questions on that? Should me go into kind of how it's calculated or anything?
And you figured out how to not make that mistake next time.
Yes. So if you're supportive of that, when we get to deliberations, the motion would just be to adjust overhead charges as proposed during the budget message. That is budget message. So I believe I hand it back over to the chair for a public hearing. There should be a script.
Do we want to do the motion before we do the public hearing? Or do that in the deliberations for the public hearing?
Deliberations.
Okay. Okay, we have a script for the public hearing. Fiscal year 25-26 proposed budget for urban renewal agency. This is a scheduled time for public hearing regarding the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 for the urban Hood River Urban Renewal Agency. We'll now take public testimony. City recorder, has anyone asked? And any of you folks? One opportunity. Okay, no public testimony, that we will now close the public hearing on the fiscal year 25-26 proposed budget. And that's now closed. So now it's our agency, our deliberation, budget committee deliberations, right?
Yeah, so I have that recommended or requested motion, and then I believe, yeah, then just any questions you have, deliberations, any other changes you want to make, and then there are also suggested motions in agenda item 7 and 8 to actually adopt.
All right, and those are in here. Okay, first, any comments on the budget or concerns or other things we should consider when we get to motions?
No.
How about you good looking folks up on the screens? Okay, that sounds good, Clint. So I think first let's do a motion for the change that Will presented. And I just wrote down motion to change overhead funding for the presentation. Is that sufficient?
That works.
I'll make a motion to adjust the overhead charges as proposed. I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Anna and a second from Kate. Any discussion about that? Okay. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And that worked for you? Then I think we're down to the approval of the budget motion, if anyone wants to do that, and it's in the packet.
Do you want to read out?
But it would be what's in brackets there as amended because of the.
I move to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025-26 budget as amended in tonight's deliberations.
Thank you.
Second.
Where was the second?
Yeah.
Oh, Amanda, we have a motion from Rand and a second from Amanda. Any discussions about that? Big motion? Big motion. All right, all in favor, say yes. Awesome, the budget has been approved. Now we have a final motion that we just need for the record to accept money, right? And it's here.
Oh, there it goes. I suggest a motion that we move that the waterfront plan area, Heights District Plan area, and West Side District Plan area request the maximum amount of revenue that may be raised by dividing the taxes under section 1C, article 9 of the Oregon Constitution and ORS, chapter 457, as applicable.
Second.
All right, motion from Kate, second from Paul. Any questions? You're good? All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
That motion is passed. Anything else for the good of the order from anyone? Seeing none, we'll adjourn the public meeting, or the public hearing. And then hearing nothing else, we'll adjourn the public the meeting,
The whole shebang.
the whole thing, we're done. Phew.
I think we have just wait 17 minutes for our time served for the city budget meeting at 6.
17-minute break.
And the
Nice work, Will.
the
Call the City of Hood River Budget Committee meeting fiscal year 2025-26 meeting for the May 21st, 2025 to order. So we have a call for public comments tonight.
We have public, I think we have public hearing, I don't know that we start with public comment. Meetings like that.
Or. So then we're just gonna move, so we'll move on to Public Works then? Okay.
Let's see. Good evening, council and budget committee. My name is Adam Schmidt, and I'm the Public Works Director. Joined with Haley Ellett, management analyst for the city. This is my second and 1/3 year of presenting the budget. I was extremely nervous the first year that I presented the budget. I felt that presenting the budget was the hardest part of it, and I've come to realize that this is probably the easiest part of the kind of day in and day out, with a few people I'd like to acknowledge before I get started. Starting with Haley. Haley spends countless hours with both myself, our operations manager, Kelly Johnson, Randy Oxeter, going over capital projects. Kelly with materials and services budget with each individual department that we have in Public Works. And also like to thank Chris, I think mainly for his patience with me. And more importantly though, him and Haley spend weekly meetings together going over the budget. He calls our capital improvement plan robust. I would call it exhausting. So the two of them are really the bones of the budget. So thanks to those people doing the heavy lift. So.
Maybe use the keyboard. There.
This is the hardest.
So like.
Well, it goes to me after this.
All right. Public Works overview. Public Works Department is responsible for streets, parking meter, sewer, stormwater collection system, wastewater treatment plant, the water system, and the engineering department. Our current staff is 6 staff members and 12 Public Works crew members. Our office staff consists of a management analyst, a project manager, a right-of-way inspector, office manager, permit tech, operations manager, and a director. In addition to city-specific duties, the Public Works crew also does water meter reading for the city of Mosier. We have a highly certified Public Works crew. Department of Environmental Quality and Oregon Health Authority requires to have certified operators on staff. We have 7 water system distribution operators, 3 wastewater collection operators, 2 road scholars, 7 cross connection specialists, 1 backflow tester, and 1 herbicide pesticide applicator. And then the graph on the left, it kind of echoes the last few departments that have been up here on the 10-year. We have quite a few employees in that 0 to 5 year range. All right, so starting with the roads department, provides maintenance and repairs in the public right of way. That includes paving, patching of roadways, sanding and plowing during winter, street light and street maintenance, and parking meter maintenance and collection. There's some photos, like on the left, working on a parking meter, fountain, someone put some soap in the fountain, and then laying down some thermoplastic in the other 2 bottom and right photos. And then the right photo, there's also some couple Crystal Greens workers working on some irrigation at the fountain. It's the Civics 101 class on the left there. And the water leak on the right, doing some flagging on 13th Street. All right, sanitary sewer. Sanitary sewer, responsible for 60 miles of maintenance of sanitary sewer pipe. We use a combination vacuum jetter truck to clean the lines. They also repair broken pipes, the debris abatement, and then provide maintenance on 6 pump stations throughout town. The photo on the left is that's the Indian Creek sewer line. There's limited access to it. That's also a new tractor that we bought this year with the vehicle replacement fund. Photo on the right is that's Ryan. Got a little dirty on the sewer break on Columbia Street. The camera on the left, camera in the sewer line, and then we use it's a basket in the middle. We use a basket in the manhole to collect debris as we're jetting the line. We pull back, you kind of see some rock in the middle there, pretty standard. And some more brushing on the right, and then manhole on the bottom right, that's a manhole on Whole Street that is surcharged. Wastewater treatment plant. City is contracted with Jacobs to operate the wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater treatment plant is part of the sewer department. It's the final collection point of all the city's sewer flow. The influent is treated and then discharged into the Columbia River. There's an aeration basin on the top left. We helped them down there, suck out a bunch of debris to make some repairs, and then Louis, one of the wastewater treatment plant operators. I believe Lou's been there for 36 years for the wastewater treatment plant. That's Civics 101 class as well. He's doing a presentation down there, and then we negotiated a 15-year contract with Jacobs this year. And there was a letter that they had that they recognizing that the city of Wood River is their longest 10-year contract that they're currently now. Stormwater, the sewer department manages the stormwater department. Provides repair and maintenance to nearly 50 miles of underground storm piping and catch basins. Duties include emergency response to stormwater related issues, street sweeping, and catch basin preventative maintenance. So over on the east side, some ditch work that we did over there, filled a lot of open ditches over on the east side. Catch basin repair that we did over there on the right. That was on Columbia Street. water department, ensures the safe and constant flow of water, to the city. We have 83 miles of pipe, stemming from 3 springs, that are fed into 1 collection box. Duties include, water meter installation and maintenance. City has approximately 3,550 service connections, 1,500 water valves and 43 pressure reducing valves, 400 hydrants and 3 reservoirs, 2 of them being in the city and 1 of them being outside the city. Also do water supply, quality analysis testing, and then maintain the hypochlorite generation system up in D, and then water line, repair and maintenance. The photo on the right is the top left is that's a Wilson reservoir. Photo on the right is the inline PRV where the hydro generation project is going to be installed, and then bottom left is that's actually a seat out of one of our pressure reducing valves, which would be top right. You can see due to cavitation and high pressure across the seat, worn out that rubber gasket that's on there, and then bottom right is an old valve down on Columbia Street. Those are really challenging. Usually you get a tool on them and the top valve just pops right off because it's rusted. Then you can't turn the water off. Top left, those are listening phones that we use for listening for leaks in the street. And then the center photo is that's the chloride generator up at the up in D where we make our chlorine. And then top right, that is a tree that was planted over on the west side of town in the newer subdivision. It was the tree was planted right over a water service line, and it broke the water service line. So, and then the bottom right one's kind of hard to tell, but some of the challenges we have to deal with the snakes down water meter tap going on top left, same bottom left. The street cutting for a water service tap up top, and then the photos to the right. Looks up in D. Farmer was plowing his orchard and hit our water line up there, and that used to be the city's main transmission main coming to town. It's no longer the main transmission, but it's feeding feeding different zones in the D area. So the top 2 photos with the lot of water in the ditch, that's pre-repair. Bottom right's post-repair, so it's just a big repair dam that we put on there. Those are all those things you see sticking up with bolts and kind of tighten it, cinch down on it, and stop the leak. That line is probably over 80 years old now. It's a welded steel, it's a rolled welded steel line wrapped in tar. All right, Parks Department. So we're contracted with Crystal Greens to do all general landscaping, irrigation, and maintenance in the parks. The city staff still does general facility maintenance. That does not fall under the landscape agreement. So tennis courts on the left, fixing the light, and Waterfront Park. We've done a lot of repairs at Waterfront Park this year. Spent quite a bit of money out of our facility maintenance this year, making repairs down there. Fleet management provides support maintenance to both public works and police vehicle fleet and equipment. Duties also include vehicle procurement. Vehicle replacement. Couple things to highlight on this. We're going to be replacing 7 vehicles planned to be replaced this next fiscal year 25-26. One of the highlights is the electrical vehicle replacement that you see there. Chris kind of covered some of this with his presentation. Haley worked on a carbon reduction plan grant. City was awarded the grant, and the city's contribution to those 3 vehicles is $30,000. And then the camera truck down there at the bottom It's a photo of not the one we're getting, but something similar to on the right. Chris explained kind of the, how the purchase was made possible in his, presentation, was due to cost savings of other vehicles, included in the schedule, like the electric vehicles, and a one-time transfer from the sewer fund of $130,000. So, I'm gonna play a video. Most of you have seen a video similar to this. So the camera truck that we will be getting, this is what it does. We currently with our capital improvement plan, we have the contractor TV all of the lines so we can locate all the laterals. So when they come through and replace the sewer line, they know where those laterals are. This is a cost that the city pays, contractor pays ultimately, but it's included in the bid. So we will save quite a bit of money by doing that in-house, and then we'll be able to also TV lines that we have throughout town with this camera. So we have a small push camera. All this is it's basically like a heavy duty cord, and it works really well for laterals, running short lines, but you can't really get any distance out of it. This is an actual crawler, so it's about this long. And it has heavy duty tires on it and then a camera. It's capable of shooting the camera up the lateral, so we can look at the lateral as well. This helps us determine projects when we're doing capital improvement projects as well, based on deterioration of the pipes, what the pipe looks like, cracks, breaks in the line. The other one is inflow and infiltration. We have a lot of problematic areas throughout town with pipes that are similar to this one. You can see cracks in the top of the pipe. This is terracotta pipe, so it's a clay pipe that we have in town. Those are roots that are growing through that crack that's right there in the side. So you get a lot of in certain areas throughout town, get a lot of infiltration through those breaks that are in the pipe and joints as well. Yeah, we currently contract this work out. There's not a lot of camera crews out there, so you surely can't get somebody out on short notice, and it's expensive when they do come out. Wow. This is a pipe on Columbia Street, so when we get to the capital improvement section of the presentation, you'll see cascades on there from 6th to 15th Street for replacement, both water sewer and storm. But yeah, this pipe is on. This pipe is currently in place working right now.
Are they always so empty, or do you have to like turn off the flow?
No, so we'll send when we run our jet rotor down, our jet rotor pulls all water debris back, and it runs between 3,000 and 3,500 psi. So it basically flushes everything out. Every once in a while you'll see, and we're usually out there in the middle of the day, so there's not a lot of folks home, so you don't see a lot of flushing and using of appliances at home. But yeah, normally no, it's not, and it's not that clean usually. It's really clean in this photo.
Yeah, they're bugs.
More snacks, anyone?
Yeah. All right. Everybody seen enough?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The electric vehicle replacement, are they replacing electric vehicles?
No, they're replacing, we currently have currently have 3 vehicles that have been up for replacement for several years, well, I shouldn't say several, but multiple years now. That we had a hard time getting vehicles during COVID. And so these will be replacing those vehicles, they're small pickup trucks that we have, that are used by, project manager, and right of way inspector, so they're replacing those. The engineering department, establishes and ensures standards are being met to preserve the city's infrastructure. And right of way, responsibilities include planning and implementing department capital projects, private and public development plan reviews. Issuance of right of way and sign permits, and construction inspections. Down there in the bold, really exciting news, we have not had an in-house engineer since last June, so the city has hired an engineer and she will be starting late in June. So we're currently contracting with HBH Consulting Engineers for private development review. We have budgeted $235,000 for this next fiscal year for that development review. And then we've also budgeted $30,000 for grayling to overlap with the new city engineer while we're getting on board. All right. Before I go into capital improvement projects, are there any questions? Okay. Capital improvement project. So this is a list of completed projects for this this last fiscal year, so 24-25. And in addition to these projects listed, staff also worked on the design phase of multiple projects with construction to start and be completed during fiscal year 25-26, such as Columbia Street and phase 4 of the waterfront storm project. So here's some photos of some of the projects that we have done this last year. Left photo is Montello, so that project was from 7th Street to 1st Street on Montello, and that was a water sewer and storm project that we did. The upper middle one, that is it's a form of a line stop on the right, and then a hot tap valve on the left. So we put in new PRVs, pressure reducing vaults, at 20th and Cascade and Rand in Cascade. So the valve on the right, the one with the blue, allows us, it's kind of like it's like an insert valve, if you will, so we can just shut the water down. Because we had some broken valves out there. And so that allowed us to stop the flow through the water and then tee off with it and install a vault. The bottom photo of, I'm thinking that looks like Columbia Street where top right one Montello. And there's some work on waterfront storm on the right. More photos of waterfront storm on the left. And in the middle, and then the UV system and wastewater treatment plant. So it was a real milestone for some of us. We finally we're online down there with the new UV system, so that's an exciting project to get out the door.
That was one of the that was our major cause of E. coli outbreaks in the last couple of years, so big deal with that.
Yeah, so we had a Trojan 4000 model down there, and it was like an old dinosaur relic. Towards the end, we couldn't even get parts for it, so we were excited to get the new system online. And then pavement management. We paved ran from May to Sherman. That's the photo on the right there. Here's some more projects. Parks. Children's Park, top left. Retaining wall installed, and sidewalk and stairs, took out some old railroad ties that were in there. And then, a big one was Man Park, with the help of the Lions Club, got, grand opening, I believe it was last week.
Thursday.
Last Thursday. So yeah, it's exciting. And then, Wilson Park, some sign work and, some equipment, painted the equipment, the existing equipment that was there. All right. Capital improvement projects for fiscal year 25-26. Most of these, they are prioritized. On the left, you'll see how we have prioritized these projects. The video was kind of a reason why, high inflow and infiltration, deteriorated pipes, leaded joints in the water lines, failing galvanized surface lines, inadequate fire flow, inadequate capacity, and high insurance claims. I'll go over each one of these projects individually. See at the bottom there, this next fiscal year, we're $15.6 million in projects, capital projects.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Is $15.5 million, is that number driven by the need to balance the capital outlays with the revenues coming in and basically the P&L of your organization? Or is that number driven by demand of projects that are out there in the world that we want to do? Or is it, or can you talk to us about that? You know?
Yeah, so I would say, for one, probably has to do a lot with, what the city can afford to do.
Right.
The second part of it being, we're under pressure from, Oregon Health Authority, with our leaded joints that we have in town. The leaded joints that we have in town that we need to get removed, or need to have removed, they also, the vintage of that pipe also goes hand in hand with, those clay pipes that you see.
Right.
And so the projects that we have listed, they kind of go together, like we're killing two birds with one stone. So, the projects are prioritized by, what we can handle in-house, to project manage.
Yeah.
And then also, the severity of insurance claims, plugs, customer reports, what we're seeing in the field from preventative maintenance.
I guess the reason I'm asking, and most somewhat of a Chris question, so I could ask it later if we don't get to it, but you know, we also have like debt capacity, right? Last couple of weeks we've been discussing the city's got, you know, like a reasonable amount of debt capacity. And when I kind of go through this, I see that basically, you know, almost all of your budget is, you know, it's created to, you know, to offset your resources coming in, right? To kind of balance the budget, if you will. And we're not particularly, you know, using that capacity of the city to either go faster or do more things that need to get done, or, you know, some combination of execution. And I asked this last year, and I think the gist I got last year was, you know, largely it's based on also the project management capacity of your organization, and I completely understand that. But I guess my question is, you know, is this the right number of things? Are we leaving high priority things on the table that we just simply either can't manage or don't want to take out, you know, some debt financing to be able to afford?
Mm-hmm.
What's like the strategic view of $15.5 million? Is that, you know, is that the right number?
And can you touch on maybe the 5 year? Sure.
So we do have within your budget book, it shows this is just for fiscal year 25.
Totally, and I'm looking at that, yeah, and I see it drop, you know, kind of dropping off, you know, year
Yeah.
by year, right?
So that book has the 5 year plan. I actually have a 15-year plan.
Yeah.
That we work off of, and as shown on this, we prioritize based off of these projects. Or these issues for these projects. These are a lot of the projects that we've been designing over the last few years. And the biggest barriers right now are our internal staff project management and the capacity, both for debt and just for funding. In general, we do look for external funding sources in terms of grants, loans, things like that outside of just regular old debt. For this, I think it is an appropriate number for our current capacity. And I think it is a good showing of kind of going forward. If you'll notice, like last year, a lot of you guys were on this committee, we had Cascade 6th to 10th. That is now a larger project because there is project savings that could be shown from mobilization, things like that. We're trying to scope projects better. So some of these projects, even though it is a single project, it's actually larger within both this year and the 5-year schedule.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Haley, and thank you, Adam. Thank you for the question, I think it's great. This city has historically been averse to taking on debt for pieces, but one of council's projects for this coming year is to evaluate options for a possible bond measure, which would be general obligation bond in November 2026. So that would be going out to the voters and asking for bond. So I anticipate late summer council to have a conversation about, would you be interested in this? In what areas would you want that to be? Would that be roads? You know, we just heard in urban renewal about roundabouts at May and 13th, or Cascade and Mount Adams. Would it be the leaded joints, which is, and when I say leaded joints, not a danger, that's not the same as lead pipes, but we have a very tight timeline from the Oregon Health Authority to replace those. So is that something that council would want to do? So anticipate council having an in-depth conversation about at least general obligation bond, that particular form of debt later this summer.
Yeah, I ask, as like, kind of business guy, because we deal with it all the time
For sure.
in my world, right? And I think the question is, if you can do these projects faster, you're also are able to, there's like, let's say there's cheap money out there. These projects may be getting more expensive faster than your ability to, than the money that you could borrow to do them sooner, you know what I mean? We talk about inflation, all these construction costs are only going high. There may be a, case to make if you borrow a little bit of money, with, reasonable terms, you may be able to avoid additional costs by doing something 4 years from now, to do it 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So I think that's the kind of thinking, these are big numbers, and I think there should be, deeper kind of financial strategy here. Because, bummer that Chris is not here, but I think, looking at debt, looking at other sort of like non, P&L strategies to get this stuff off the table as fast as possible would be, would be a good thing to further investigate.
Thanks, Rudy.
Why are we taking on more debt to get some of these projects? Why are we taking on more debt to get some of these projects done faster?
Why are we not?
Why are we not?
Speak into a microphone.
I mean. I'm hoping we're gonna mention the same thing. I mean, I think there's a capacity issue. Right, I think there are only so many projects that we can do given the strength we have, right? And so there is also the issue that we are trying to finance these projects using revenue that's created by the individual.
That's like the primary constraint, right?
So your debt service constraint is the user fees, right? So the sewer fees, water fees, stormwater fees that we receive, is the debt service constraint, and we try to balance the amount of debt that we're taking on at a given point in time with a minimum debt service coverage. So a combination of sort of restricted debt service, as well as just capacity constraints. I think we've been as aggressive as we're comfortable with, both from an execution and debt standpoint.
Great.
All right. Water sewer storm projects within the capital plan, 3 projects listed, Whole Street from 9th to 12th, Cascade 6th to 15th, and Columbia 8th to 10th. All of the photos listed are photos from the current project right now, the Columbia 8th to 10th project. Many of you know that's the last standing concrete section down there, and gives a real good idea of why we're doing these projects in that middle photo. So that's a 2-inch water line. Those silver things are repair beams. I see 3 of them on there. And then that thing in the middle is just like a barnacle, basically, of rust. And then the pipe on the right is a piece of terracotta, it's similar to sewer lateral. All right, I'll go through individual department projects. The Parks Department, children's basketball court. We are replacing the fence around the basketball court, also doing some roof repair out there. And then the waterfront park beach renovation. Every few years we gotta haul sand and rock in there. It seems to make its way in the water or up on the grass with the wind down there. Road department. Pavement management this year, we are replacing the asphalt from Rand Road on Main Street all the way out to Frankton. That's scheduled. And then the Safe Routes to School, we're working with the Safe Routes to School coordinator to identify projects outlined in the plan. And then the left photo is the elevated sidewalk project, and we're planning to start construction on that June, this next month. Sewer opt. Wacoma Park, 13th, alley sewer, failing infrastructure, high infiltration on that project. Country Club lift station, it's a photo of it on the bottom right. We're doing a study to determine the need and potential scope for future flows. And then the larger portion of the sewer plan is the elevated sewer line that'll be on the left. We're doing design for that. Line's failing. And there's location and access issues to go along with that. All right, wastewater treatment plant. Couple of the projects that are listed up there, they'll be outlined in the capital facilities plan. Our capital facilities plan has been completed. It's with the queue for approval right now. So anxious to get that back. A couple of projects that are outlined in that are the primary clarifier repair. That would be in the middle photo. That cylinder that is the most silver of them, the covered clarifier. It's not a wastewater treatment plant. So there's currently considerable concrete damage, wall deterioration. We'll be replacing the weirs and the baffles that are in there along with the mechanical system. The other project on the right is the thick and waste activated sludge pump that's down there. It's lived out its lifespan. Replacing that. And then wastewater treatment plant office upgrades. We are we're in the process of making some upgrades with the office that's down there. It ran out of space, ran out of office space down there. Water, dehydro. So construction started this last month. The turbine is being custom built and expected to be on site September of 2025. Well, there's some photos of the actual turbine that we just recently got from Canyon Hydro and making the turbine. Stormwater. Like I mentioned earlier, phase 1 through 3 have been completed on the waterfront stormwater project. Phase 4, we're near design completion on that. We are hopeful to start construction work in the downtown area this summer. along with wetland work. We're trying to combine both of those. Like was mentioned earlier, there's some cost savings involved with that instead of breaking that up into two phases. And then 13th Street on Lincoln, we have a storm line down there that it's inadequately sized and overflows when we get high rain events. That was a photo of the crew that does the day's work there, so that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Where's Haley in that picture?
Yeah, okay. He actually took the picture.
Maybe the operations team, not the engineering.
Yeah, just really just our. So. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the budget, but I did notice my new trash can in front of Volcanic and it's very nice.
Oh, yeah. Good to hear.
I don't know why they didn't, like, not both replaced, but. I was like, oh, this one's new and this one's old, yeah. I don't know. But anyway, thanks.
No.
And also nothing to do with the budget, but thank you for everything you do, you know, how difficult your job is. And as a like a primary customer, we put a lot of things in the wastewater treatment plant. Thank you for making that all work. Appreciate all the effort and tremendous like partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any, Laura, do we have any questions online? There's no hands raised? Okay.
Stop sharing.
No, this is no.
I know. They're hidden. So everybody's good? Okay. Great. I think now we move to the public hearing section. So this is the time for the scheduled public hearing regarding proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 and 26 and the use of state shared revenue for the city of Hood River. We'll now take public testimony. City recorder, has anybody registered to speak? No. Okay. Those are speaks to the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget and use of state shared revenue is now closed. So now final deliberations?
Yep.
Okay. We're in the final deliberations. Mayor?
I don't want any of us to take the absence of public testimony as disinterest from my perspective, perhaps other counselors. Y'all non-counselors who serve on this, but it's such valuable outside eyes looking in because we're doing us all the time. And so I really want to appreciate you guys for taking the time to be involved in your city. And this is obviously such momentous policy direction. You know, we only spend what we budget. So thanks for engaging.
Any other deliberations? Okay, yes.
This isn't necessarily a deliberation, but more just food for thought or comment for everyone else regarding the numbers that are in here. In this budget, we have included a 2% growth in TRT revenue. I'm just mentioning some in the industry and have experience with this. Industry forecast is not for any growth. The industry forecast is generally if you have 0% growth, congratulations, you have won this year. Right now, what I'm seeing in the industry is a drop in occupancy rate, which will be followed by a drop in ADR, which is typically what happens. I'm not going to nitpick the 2% versus 0%. It's fine. I'm just offering that as a grain of salt to everyone going forward. Same as I did last year. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think Chris is not here, but I believe in his comments, he was looking at there being more hotel rooms.
I know.
And that some of that was there.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
I took that into consideration as well.
I got your grain of salt.
Thank you. Big grain of salt. I was looking through the road fund specifically, and this isn't a question for Adam, it's just more notes for everyone else. Once we're not using grant funds to do some of our capital outlay, we'll need to look at what our revenue sources are for roads, in my opinion. Revenue sources for roads versus what our requirements are in that fund specifically. So just be mindful of that. We have a couple of those kinds of funds just to be aware of. And just general other things, we've done a few things with repairs on Man Park, for example, and whatnot. We don't have any matching opportunities in this budget for folks if we want to leverage the collaborative opportunities for people in the community. If we wish to fix up our parks in the future, I'm of the opinion it would be great if we were able to fit that in the budget or at some point, not necessarily today, but at some point in the future, if that's an opportunity that we have available to us at some point. So that's just my 2 cents on those things that are here. Nothing major, just stuff for the future.
No more deliberations, okay, I move to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget as submitted by the budget office.
You can't move.
I think you're
Oh, I
looking-
can't,
you're looking for a motion.
I'm looking for a motion, you're right, I can't move, I gotta stay still.
But if you'd read it out loud, I think that'd
Okay.
be helpful.
Yeah, all right,
We're looking
I'm looking for a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025-26 budget as submitted by the budget office.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, I'm also looking to follow that up, our motion passes. Looking to follow that up with another motion to approve taxes for the fiscal year 2025 fiscal year, sorry, at rate of $2.8112 per thousand of assessed value for operating purposes of the general fund.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
They say.
Oh.
Aye.
I adjourn the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any other final?
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah. Oh, sorry.
We're adjourned.
Thanks for the chair. You really appreciate it.
Oh,
That microphone, please.
So I think we skipped something on the agenda, because I just, very, very small one.
Give some amendments. Can we please reopen?
I would like to reopen the
There you go.
fiscal year 2025 budget committee meeting.
You almost got out.
Sorry, actually, this will be very, very quick. We're probably gonna figure out how to get that.
I was just talking more during deliberations, but nobody would like that.
Have a good.
Yes.
We'll bump those times.
Yeah. I think that's better. Do you have any final thoughts? Is there a list? That's what it is. D drive.
You drive? Alright, sorry. Alright, I'll be very quick about this. Plus, I'm almost letting you guys go.
Thanks.
Yeah, enjoy our time.
I was just.
Extend it as much as possible. Guys.
One year we had to like reconvene to approve state funds or something like. Thank you.
State shared revenue perhaps?
Yeah.
It's also on here. That was.
Great, okay, so most of these are review, we've covered most of this in discussions. But because the motion that we're gonna ask for is to approve the budget as amended, these are some of the quick amendments that are in the budget. You're not? You're not? Great. So I adjusted, so revenues are based off of projections that are based off of trends. And so based on the fact that we've closed April since we started the budget discussions, I just updated the revenues just to see if there were any major trend changes that were going to impact revenues. Just for sort of belt and suspenders. Ultimately, there was a very, very small downtick in revenues of about $14,000. The largest decline was in TLT revenue, about 1.35%, and franchise fees down about 3.5%. But again, none of them are substantial. And again, some other revenues adjusted. So overall, just adjusted for trends, the overall revenue assumptions are down $14,000. In payroll, we discussed this at one of our prior meetings. There were some adjustments in the payroll spreadsheets for CBA wage steps. This is primarily in the police department and public works departments. This is again, a downward payroll expense adjustment of $42,000 and a little over $42,000. Adam just mentioned in engineering that there is both HBH as well as Grayling engineers. We reallocated some expense from from HBH to Grayling. So overall impact on the budget is 0, but we are creating a new line item for contract services for engineering. Non-departmental, this is the 190 category. There was a $6,000 adjustment for CAT donation. There is actually a IGA between the city and CAT for a downtown low-income downtown employee bus program. So we've agreed to contribute $6,000. Currently, the donations in 190 was just the affordable housing contribution of $15,000. So this goes from $23,000 to $29,000 in budget expense. Ignore that one, which is that's in bold. Again, based on April actuals, the revenues were adjusted also for the restricted revenues, so road, water, sewer, storm. Again, you'll see the increases are extremely small on a percentage basis. The overall impact is an increase of revenues in the budget of about $128,000 and change. But again, no, except for sewer, which has increased 2.7%, no other category was adjusted more than 1%. And then lastly, and this came from a comment from the budget committee, the janitorial contracts, the janitorial contract needed to be adjusted across the individual funds. So you'll see that the general contract was overstated by about $27,000 in the aggregate, and you can see the individual adjustments that are being. Lastly, in other funds, because of the adjustment in the TLT receipt from the April trends, that adjusted the pass-through amount, the 25% that gets passed through to the tourist promotion fund, or to Resident River through the tourist promotion fund, and so that's a downward adjustment of about $33,580. So again, these are all pretty minor adjustments in the aggregate. It's actually favorable to the budget. Revenues increased and expenses decreased. But again, sort of overall pretty nominal amounts. But for purposes of the motion, I just would like to acknowledge that these changes will be final. So thank you. I also do want to thank everybody for their participation. I know it's a lot of time, particularly given how long these meetings are. And I really appreciate much participation. It's extremely valuable, and the comments that you have all made have really helped us solidify this budget. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Point of order, quick.
Yeah.
So we had 2 motions, right? Shouldn't there be a third for the state share?
State revenues.
The same mistake I think that was made last year that the mayor just pointed out.
Well, not last year, like 15 years ago.
Yeah, but in the past.
So the state revenue, we will do that at council. So
I trust you guys.
because so this is the procedure we went through last year.
Mhm.
Yeah. So because the and again, I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
There is, so this is procedural approval on behalf of the budget committee. And so essentially you're approving the budget and you're sort of restating that the amounts being collected from taxes is sort of sufficient, right? And then when we go to council, it'll be the appropriations approval. It will be the acceptance of state revenues, and it will be the actual levy of taxation. So I believe that.
So where are we?
Do I need to go through deliberation
think
again,
we're-
or?
I certainly can open up to conversation, to questions.
Okay.
I do think we'll need a new motion with an
New motion to
amended
approve everything, okay. Any other new deliberations or additional? Okay. Great, looking to, for a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget as submitted by the budget office, and amended by the budget committee. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Motion passes.
Who was the second? I think Rudy was.
Rudy, sorry. And then looking for a motion, to approve taxes for the fiscal year 2025 fiscal year at the rate of $2.8112 per thousand assessed value, for operating purposes in the general fund.
So moved.
So,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Now, my pleasure to adjourn for a second time.
Re-adjourn. Well done.
So funny.
Oh, thanks. I got a little bumpy.
Right now, we see it in the city of Hotel. Hotel over.